As a homeowner, we always have problems that come up with our home, whether it's having to fix a hole in the drywall because maybe you open the front door a little bit too aggressive, or maybe the railing on your deck is starting to fall off. The problem is that you may not know who do I call to fix that problem. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how can you find contractors and how do you know if that contractor is a good one. Let's go ahead and get into it. Where all of this comes from is at my house I had to replace the porch posts on my front porch. Obviously, wood, as it ages, is going to get nasty, it's going to start to rot, and eventually it's going to lose some of its structural integrity. Now, how I found out that my porch posts were rotting was the entire porch started to sag by about 3 inches on the left side. You can see a pretty sizable gap in the siding from where the porch had actually kind of started leaning forward. So, kind of concerned that the porch was going to fall off the entire house itself. I looked up to see if I could fix it myself, because, you know, I'm a knucklehead and I'm going to figure it out and do what I can to save a buck here or there. Turns out that apparently doing that kind of repair, your insurance is not going to cover you if you knock off your own porch from your own house. I didn't know that, but now I do. So here's the problem that we have. If I can't fix the porch, that means I got to get somebody else to fix the porch, and that brings us to our conversation today. Where this comes from, even though I'm doing a repair, it also comes from, I get phone calls all the time of, hey, I know that you work on well and septic systems, but I need somebody who works on HVAC, or I need a drywaller, or whatever. And I have to give out recommendations. If you're in the trades, I'm sure you're probably doing the same thing that I'm doing, where you're always kind of networking, meeting different people in different trades and saying, hey, that guy's a cool guy, or that guy does clean work, you might want to give this guy a call. If you are a contractor and that's something you do, leave a comment below, let me know. And on top of that, what trade are you in? Are you in the well side? Are you in the electrician side? Are you a drywaller? Maybe you're the asphalt guy. Who knows? But let's talk about it down below. So obviously I needed to get somebody who is going to be able to work with wood, whether it's a carpenter, general contractor, whatever. Now in the state of Maryland, if you're going to do home improvement projects of any category, you must have a license. So that limits me to, I got to get somebody who actually has insurance. The other thing is also if I hire somebody without insurance, I don't want them knocking my porch off my house and I'm stuck back in the same situation where insurance isn't there, they're not going to cover it, and oops, you're out of luck. Because as a homeowner, if you hire somebody who's not insured and not qualified to do the work and they damage your house, guess who's on the hook? You are. The first place that I like to start is Facebook and your local network. So the reason you like Facebook, the reason you might want to consider Facebook is a lot of communities will have like a group page. And on that group page, you can just say, hey, I am this person looking for this service. Here's some pictures. And you'll get a lot of people that comment and say, hey, I've used this person or I've used that person. Personally, I prefer the direct network. So people that I know in my area who have worked with a particular contractor. I'm sure you're probably the same way as I am, where I want the word of mouth. I want to know this person didn't destroy my house. This person didn't smoke in my house while he was working. There's a lot of things that you might want your contractor to do or not do. Having that relationship with a person who's been a previous client, that'll help you know what level you're kind of walking into. If you don't have a friend who's done that particular niche, then what you can do is you can go on Facebook. So what I did was I went on Facebook. I asked, hey, tell me who's available, licensed, insured, and I have this scope of project. Let's meet, let's talk, discuss, what are we going to be doing? I got so many comments, but believe it or not, nobody ever read the actual post. I got so many comments from people who were actually not licensed or insured, just saying, hey, I can do it, which again is illegal in Maryland. If you're doing any home improvement work, whether you agree or disagree, it is a crime. It's illegal. You cannot be doing work in the house if you're not a licensed contractor. So I got a bunch of people, right? They went ahead and gave me their information. I called them. I figured, hey, let's make an experiment out of this. I called 14 people, and I got, of those 14 people, 5 to show up. Yeah, only 5 out of 14 actually showed up, and they scheduled times when we talked. They said, okay, we'll be here at this date, this time. And I said, all right, well, let's spend the next 3 or 4 days making bids, seeing what's going on, and nobody showed up. Except for 5. Of those 5, we had 3 that actually had the license and insurance that I wanted. The other 2, when I asked about license and insurance, they told me, no, we don't have it. Even though when we were texting back and forth to schedule the appointment, I reaffirmed that I want a license and insurance on this project and the bid. So the three guys who came in, they gave me pretty wide variety of pricing. They gave me basically $2,200 for the first one. The next guy was about $1,300, and the cheapest guy was about $800. All we're doing is changing posts. Now, I realize that there's an entire porch on it. So in my head, I'm trying to wrap around, okay, we've got 2 posts that need to be 6x6, and they're going to be roughly $100 each side. So bare minimum, we got to go 200. I usually advise people when you're budgeting repair work to multiply by 3, and that should put you in the right ballpark. So what this means is I plan on $600 is kind of my baseline. So the guy who's at $2,100, that's a little bit too high in my opinion. So let's see what the next guy is. And then he, like I said, $1,300 and some change, and then the other guy was $800. So we went with the cheapest guy. You don't always want to go with the cheapest guy, but you want to go with the guy who actually is going to walk you through how it works, what they're going to do, and do you trust that they know what they're doing? So the cheapest guy actually was the cleanest dressed, best looking car. He also gave me the bid that detailed exactly what he was going to do, and he said, I'm going to do this date, this time, and we'll work around whatever else needs to get done. So he was probably actually the most professional, even though he was the cheapest guy. In my experience, you want to get multiple bids. This experience was more interesting because I was doing woodworking, so it's not really the trades I'm usually into, but I was surprised at how many people didn't show up on the bid. Because if you get a lead, if you're called in as a contractor, if you don't submit a bid or you don't show up to the property, guess what? You just lost all that money. So all the people that we made appointments with, they could have potentially earned that $1,000, $2,000, whatever it was. Again, I know enough about the industry to be able to do the rough math in my head to figure out what it roughly should end up costing. So obviously I wasn't going with the $2,000 guy, especially when, they don't really come to the house all super clean. A contractor doesn't have to come to the house super clean, but don't come in with torn clothes. Don't come in with like stained clothes. You're gonna turn more people away. Being presentable, clean, kept is gonna make it to where it's you're a lot more official and a lot more professional when it comes to somebody's house. The reason I think this way is if you're not willing to take care of yourself or your vehicle or your clothes, how likely are you to take care of your job site? You may disagree with me, and if you do, leave a comment below. Tell me why I'm wrong. But if you agree with me, also tell me that you agree. I think that it's very important to be professional. With all of this being said and done, I think the best way to pick a contractor is to figure out who do you have a good comfort level with, who can explain what's going on, how do they present themselves. And when it comes to finding a contractor, the best way is word of mouth. You want to talk to somebody who's hired that person in the past. They know what that guy's going to do. They can show you what they've done in their home. And if you don't have that contact, let's try Facebook. Facebook groups have tons of people. Believe it or not, there's thousands of people in most of them. So somebody is going to know a reputable guy. And if enough people recommend the same guy, that's probably the guy you want to go with. I hope that you found this useful and interesting. If you did, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I have videos posted every day on the world of well and septic. And sometimes we're going to talk about stuff like this that can help you as a homeowner navigate the annoying life of home repairs. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to you next time.